Yeah, it's great to see so many of you here, and it's great to have this fantastic shrine, isn't it? We were celebrating Sangha Day last week, and one of the traditions is that on Sangha Days, everybody who's a bit more involved with us brings a flower, a candle, and an incense stick. That's why it's such an elaborated shrine. And we also had a handover. Tarapalita was taking on a certain responsibility for the guys here at the center. And there was a lot of rejoicing in his merits, which was really beautiful. He's a great guy. Yeah. So, Sangha Day. We have about 6 festival days as Buddhists over the year. And on the full moon of November, we are celebrating Sangha Day. And as you might guess, Sangha, which means the spiritual community, is quite important to me. It's part of my name, Sanghadarsini. It means, my name means she who sees the spiritual community, she who has a vision of the community. And the name was given to me in 2007 by my preceptor, Kulanandi, a woman, ordained me. And our names express quality. So we have somebody at our sides when we go into this process of ordination who sort of like, it's a bit like a really good friend. The word for it is Kalyana Mitra, a friend who sees the beautiful in you. And this was my friend Kulanandi. So she had quite a good idea of what my qualities are. So that's why she gave me this name. But the name also is quite big. You know, you could see these qualities and as enlightened qualities. So there's a lot of room for me to grow into this name. Yeah. So if you want, ask any of these order members. They are the ones with these kesas, what their names mean and what they may be meant for them when they've been ordained and what the names mean now. So, coming back to Sangha Day, we were celebrating the Sangha, the spiritual community, and that's what I want to talk about today. The spiritual community, a bit in general, but then also about our order. So for some of you, you might just be coming here, you don't even know what we're called, but for some of you, you've been coming quite for a while, and I thought it'll be quite nice with my own journey towards ordination, just to tell you a little bit more about what this Triratna Buddhist Order is. So we can look at this term Sangha on 2 different levels. On one level, like when we were saluting the shrine at the beginning, we were saluting the Buddha as an ideal of enlightenment, the Dharma, all the teachings which help us to develop in that direction, and the Sangha as the spiritual community, but on a very high level, yeah? So on this level, it's sometimes called the Arya Sangha. It's the ideal. So these are all the beings who have been enlightened over the last 2,500 years. You know, the Buddha was the first one, but then he was able to communicate what he's seen, and people followed in his footsteps. You know, they sort of like either became fully enlightened, or we call it being irreversible on the path. So you come to a certain stage of attainment and you cannot really fall back. It's still a way to go towards enlightenment, but you cannot fall back. And some people even say that it's not just the people over the last 2,500 years who gained enlightenment. Buddhism has quite a big perspective, so it's even outside of time and space. All these beings, there is lots of different world systems existing parallel to this one. So we could give a whole talk on this, yeah. But all beings outside of time and space who gained enlightenment. So this is the really high level, the Arya Sangha. And on a bit of a level closer to home, we use this term Sangha as the community of people who practice together, who go for refuge, the Buddha, the Dharma, his teachings, and the Sangha. So in some ways, that's us, or at least some of us who see ourselves as Buddhists. We support and inspire each other and help each other on the path. So we are not a true refuge yet, yeah? The true refuge is on that high level. At least I can only speak for myself. Some of you might be enlightened. I am not, I have to say. I'm still working on integration. I'm trying to be as reliable as possible, but still sometimes I let people down. I have my moods. Oh, I just had 2 weeks of moods. I don't always come from my best, and I'm a bit egoistical at times. But my life is about going for refuge to the 3 jewels. And I have all these practices at hand to try to live a meaningful life. And I've got friends around me who support me in this endeavor to trying to create a spiritual community again and again. So Sanghadarsini, it's this picture here, is the founder of our movement. He defined a spiritual community as a voluntary association of free individuals who have come together on account of a common commitment to a common ideal, a commitment to what we call the 3 jewels. So the order, the Triratna Buddhist Order, the order where we are members of, which is at the heart of this community, it's actually an international community, is trying to be a spiritual community in this sense. So I just say it again, a voluntary association of free individuals who have come together on account of a common commitment to a common ideal, a commitment that to what we call the 3 jewels. So I'm just going to go into this a little bit more. So as order members, we are aspiring individuals, trying to become more and more of an individual, more and more integrated, emotionally positive at all times, quite a task, independent of group values, freeing ourselves from unhelpful conditioning and thinking for ourselves. So we are on a spiritual journey because we had a glimpse of the divine, the beloved, and we follow our heart's wish for freedom. At least this is how I would put it. Ask the others how they would describe it, what they're trying to do. And at the same time, we're coming together with these other aspiring individuals. We are co-creating, I like this word, we are trying to co-create something with other individuals on the basis of our common values and our going for refuge to the 3 jewels. And that is not easy, it's a high ideal. But for me, this ideal, this vision of a spiritual community is very much alive in me. And even if I'm not always there, but it's something I really aspire to. And I thought I'd give you a bit of a taste instead of words, just a bit of a taste, talking about my own experience on my ordination retreat. So in 2007, I was invited on my ordination retreat on a mountain in Spain. And I was going to spend 3 months together with 20 other women, of which 40 of them were going to be ordained with me. The place is called Akashavana, the forest of luminous space. And it's far away from any civilization, away from mobile phone, laptops, Wi-Fi, even other people. It's a beautiful space. It's rough and rugged, but at the same time benevolent. I don't know, it felt like whatever beings were there, they were just supporting us in these 3 months. And I had prepared for this retreat over the last 7 months. On the outside, I studied the Dharma, the Buddha's teaching, at my local Buddhist center. I built up a regular meditation practice. I had developed friendships with people in the order. I went on special training retreats in Germany and the UK. I lived in a Buddhist community and I worked for the Buddhist Center in Essen. On the inside, I really had grown as a person. I became more independent in my thinking, more independent from the different groups around me, like my family, status, work. It's quite a process. I loosened some of my views about life and loosened some restricted conditionings and habits. And I had gained more confidence in my own practice and in myself. And I realized at some stage that some things won't be able to give me lasting satisfaction, which was quite sobering because sometimes you put all your coins onto something and then it doesn't come true. So this can be very painful, but sobering and freeing. But I also found deeper meaning in things which went beyond me. A whole new world of meaning had opened up in me. And all of this had been witnessed by my friends in the order. Then one day, I received this letter. It's sort of like, it's a very special letter, and you just go like, woo, I've got the letter. Being invited on my 3-month-long ordination retreat on this mountain in Spain. But it all began a bit different to what I thought. So we were all traveling to Spain, and I was meeting up with my good friend Fiona in Barcelona. And we had a few days to look at the city, just get a feel for the city again before we would be for 3 months up in the mountains, yeah. So one day she said, do you want to come to the Camp Nou? This is one of the biggest football stadiums in the world. And she asked if I wanted to come with her. I had never been to a football stadium before, and I thought she was mad. To go to a football stadium the night before we were going to go on the mountain on our ordination retreat, being holy, being, whatever. But as she is a very convincing person, I decided to join her. So we went to the Camp Nou, and we saw Barcelona play Getafe, and we saw Messi play. He played like a god, Barcelona did win 5-2 against Getafe, and Messi scored 3 goals. It was an amazing experience. The atmosphere was tense and alive, and Barcelona did win. We had been part of something big, and it really was great. The guy at the hostel later on, he bowed in front of us that we've been to this game. But I looked at the supporters from the other club, the Getafe supporters, and they were not jubilant. They were not happy. And I wondered how it would have been to sit in their corner of the stadium. So the next day, we went on our journey to Akashavana, the forest of luminous space. And on the way, it's quite a mythical journey, all these names of these different stations, of these different places where you have to change from a train to a bus and then another bus. And then you're picked up at a place with some jeeps to go up on the mountains. So we met up more and more of the women who were going to live with us over the next 3 months. Most of them I had never met before, which is quite unusual. Normally you meet up quite a lot of the people, but with these ones, I've hardly met any of them before. So they were from the UK, they were from Scotland, the Netherlands, Mexico, the United States, and me as the only one from Germany. We had different backgrounds, were of different ages, had different sexual orientations. Some were mums, some were grandmothers. Some lived in a Buddhist community, like I did. Some lived with their partner, some on their own. Some had jobs in the world, maybe working as a nurse or kindergarten teacher. Some worked for our Buddhist movement. And it was very interesting to see at the beginning how we were drawn to each other by the known. So some of us were of a similar age, or we were sharing a language, or by our lifestyles. But for all of us, these 3 months were going to be a stepping into the unknown, a stepping out of familiarity into the unknown, and a stepping into this Triratna Buddhist Order, which is still a mystery and in some ways unfathomable and unknown to me. A quote from our teacher Sanghadarsini from a seminar on the Ratnaguna Samchaya Gatha. Great how I can say this. You can't really commit yourself to something that you know. To commit yourself to the known is a contradiction in terms. You always commit yourself to the unknown. At least, there is always an unknown element in that to which you commit yourself. So that's very interesting, isn't it? It's something, can only commit ourselves to the unknown, something beyond, something, if I can grasp it, it's not going to work. It must be something much bigger. So over all these weeks, we all got to know each other better. We shared our life stories. We meditated, celebrated rituals. We did our daily chores like cooking, cleaning, fetching water, chainsawing tree trunks. We worked together. We rubbed up against each other and confessed. We rejoiced in each other's merits. We got to know each other. and ourselves much more in our depths and our heights, and we lived the Dharma life. We lived a life of Buddhist practice together. And then our private ordination was upon us, this very auspicious meeting of ourselves just with our preceptor, the person who was going to ordain us, just one-to-one in a secret, auspicious place. So the meaning of this ritual is that even if no one else in the whole world would take this space, I am willing to go it alone. Yeah, so it's me sort of like leaving the community. We were all meditating together, and I get on my way on my own to find the place. Some people haven't found it. They needed a bit of stirring. So just me and Kulanandi, my preceptor. So she had witnessed my journey over the years. She witnessed my commitment to my ethical practice. Yeah, she's the one who sees my ethical practice. And she felt confident that I was going, we call it going for refuge effectively, which means that I can create conditions under most circumstances to continue with my dharmic practice. And she felt confident that I had at least a glimpse of the transcendental, whatever that means, yeah. And the others were also meeting up just with their preceptors. And it felt a bit as if all our life has led us to this point, a stepping into the unknown, a letting go of our old identity, to be reborn into something new, which was expressed later on through our new names. So we're given this new name at our private ordination. What a moment, yeah. Which is probably for most order members the most significant moment in their lives. But this ritual has two parts. So only a few days later we were born into the order at our public ordination. So even if we were determined to go there alone, at the public ordination, we found ourselves stepping into the order together with all the others. We had committed ourselves individually, but we were welcomed into this Buddhist order together. Very joyous, lots of celebration, great food. And at the ordination there was this verse which still rings in my ears. Today my human life is bearing fruit. I'm born into the Buddha family. I am a daughter of the Buddha. Now I will act in such a way that no disgrace will come to this spotless family. And Parami, a public preceptor, said at some stage in the ceremony that this step was not just for this lifetimes, but the following lives to come. And I thought to myself, oh God, I can hear this. I have no idea what this means, but this is really big. Yeah, I couldn't really take it in. This is not just for this lifetime, but the next lifetimes to come. And a few days after we've been publicly ordained, I was sitting in this shrine room. Some of the preceptors, they had left again. It was just the 20 of us. And I got a glimpse of this order, and Sangharakshita's words did ring in my ear. I just say this again, a voluntary association of free individuals who have come together on account of a common commitment to a common ideal, a commitment to what we call the three jewels. And in some ways, what has drawn us at the beginning together, in some ways, it wasn't important anymore, you know. We had all in some ways become so much more, become freer and more of an individual, each with our distinctive qualities, expressed beautiful in our new names. We had all been witnessed to effectively go for refuge by our preceptors, but also by each other. And I cannot really explain what happened to me at that moment, looking around the shrine room, but it was significant. It was as if I had a deep faith in something new. Yes, from the outside we looked like a group, yeah? We were all wearing blue clothes, some with shaven heads. We were chanting together, meditating together, working together, but something was new. We could be ourselves deeply ourselves, and we're connected on a deep level with each other by our committing ourselves to the truth, the beauty, and the good, committing to the three jewels, each in her individual way. So there was no outside pressure to conform, even to be good, not wanting to receive appreciation. We were not wearing masks anymore and coming together more naked, still with our rough edges. This was the order. This was an experience of the order which is still with me after all these years. It was a glimpse of what the order can be at its best. But it's not always like this, yeah. I'm not always in these ideal conditions. In Berlin life, these conditions have to be worked on. It's a practice, and I will say a bit about this now, yeah. So you could say that our Buddhist order is a living being, a living organism held together by our common going for refuge. It's a network of friendships who have to be worked on. Some years ago, I gave a talk on a retreat which was for women who were training for ordination. And it's quite a long time ago, but maybe some of you will remember Pope Benedict had just become Pope in Germany. And the newspapers were full of this slogan, "We are Pope." So in this retreat, I had this slogan, "We are order." And I reflected on that retreat. So without me, this Buddhist order would not be the order. So each one of us brings their individual qualities. The order is not stagnant. It's not a fixed thing. It's slightly changing shape each time a new order member joins it. And as soon as I enter this order, I'm a full member of the order. Yes, there will be people who have more experience, who I look up to in terms of, who I look up to. You know, there are some of them, they've been ordained 30, 40, 50 years. They have much more experience to me. So I see them as sort of like further ahead of me. But in terms of responsibilities, I am, at the moment where I get ordained, a full member of the order. And these responsibilities are not in running a Buddhist center, you know, like we are running, there's quite a lot of us, we are running this Buddhist center, but that's not really my responsibility. My responsibility lies in deepening my practice again and again towards enlightenment and creating harmony with my brothers and sisters in the order, which is quite a practice, yeah, because some of them are so different. I live together with some of them and they can really trigger me wonderfully, yeah, so I have to work on this. And we're trying to work for the welfare of all beings, and each of us does that in different ways. You know, some might do it just with their family, some might be working in hospitals, some might work here for the Buddhist Center, but it's sort of like this sense of trying to work for the welfare of all beings. Another thing is that there cannot be any worldly hierarchy or power structure in the order, which is also something to take in. So easy to say, let's do it this way, and you should all do it this way. No, we have these discussions where we try to come to a consensus. So maybe as a Buddhist center, as a legal responsibilities, we have more like a hierarchy, but in the order, no worldly hierarchy, no power structures. And just to say, the order is not the end, but a context to move from effective going for refuge to real going for refuge, which would be this place of irreversibility. So it's the context where we support each other in this growth. And each one of us has to take care of this living organism. Sometimes I hear about a conflict and I think, somebody else will look after this, yeah? Or I'm in conflict with somebody and I never address it, but it's just swelling underneath, yeah? Maybe I talk with other friends about that person, that difficult person, yeah, without addressing it, but that's not good enough, you know? I have to take care of this living organism. Sadanandi, she's an order member who lives in a retreat center in the UK, lives and works there with others, she had a very interesting image. And maybe this brings it a bit more home to you all who are not in an order, yeah. But she talked about a community being like a coral reef. So I don't know if you've been swimming in a coral reef, maybe in Australia or somewhere before. It's amazingly beautiful, isn't it, with all these colors. But they need clean water, clear water to survive. So any pollution is really damaging to them. So in comparing a community to a coral reef, Sadanandi asked, do we know the pollution we bring to a situation? At some stage, Sadanandi met up with some friends and asked them, what pollution do I bring to this situation? So the people she was living and working with. And first she told them about what she thought her strengths were and what her weaknesses were. And then she asked them for feedback. And she had a chair next to her. So she asked her friends one by one to come forward, sitting next to her and telling her what they experienced living and working with her, going into dialogue with them. What a strong practice, yeah, just to ask your friends. I often thought I'd love to do this, and then I chickened out, yeah. I'm not quite sure if I really want to hear what others have to say about me. I asked them recently what they thought my strengths were, and this was beautiful. But I haven't done this yet. But what a strong practice. Sadanandi wanted to be modified by others, and she gave them the permission to engage with her. So maybe this is a good question to ask yourself for any given context which has a value of you. What pollution do you bring to a situation? How do you show up your ego? And how do you hold it up, you know? It was very interesting. I was recently at a performance of Eva, and she talked a bit about her path into Buddhism. And at some stage, she said something which really had an effect on me. She said that every emotion, feeling we have only lasts 90 seconds. But we rekindle this emotion again and again. That's why it can go on for weeks, yeah? But in some ways, if we just would experience it, it just goes on for 90 seconds. I thought that was really, really interesting. So where do I rekindle it, yeah? And then do I give others the permission to engage with me? So I hope I have given you a bit of a taste of this spiritual community. It's nothing fixed. It's changing. It has to be worked on. It depends on each of us individually. As an order, we have a symbol, and it's the image of the bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. Got quite a beautiful image there. Have a look at it later. The bodhisattva of compassion, working for the welfare of all beings. As an individual, the task of liberating all beings is a bit big, isn't it? It's sort of like, how could I liberate all beings? But as a spiritual community, we have a bit of a better chance to do this. So Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion, comes in many forms. And this form, he has, if you look closer, 11 heads, which can look in all directions. And he has 1,000 arms, yeah? So 1,000 arms. And each of the arms holds a different implement. So the symbol for our order, that each of the arms of the hands is one of us. Yeah, so each one of us is holding a different implement. Each one of us is working in our own way for the welfare of all beings, each with a different implement. And I remember when I first heard about this image, I thought, yeah, I can be an image. I can be a hand, you know, sort of like doing it in a certain way. The body is our going for refuge. At the heart, he's holding the wish-fulfilling June, the Chintamani, which is the bodhicitta, this deep will for enlightenment. So there is something which brings us together, but each of one is trying to be a hand of Avalokiteshvara. And in 1999, Sanghadarsini gave a talk to the order called Looking Ahead a Little Way. And at that stage he said, if the order is spiritually united, if it is in harmony, then a truly wonderful thing will happen. The order will be the locus. What does locus mean? The what? The focal point for the manifestation of the bodhicitta. As you all know, we sometimes liken the order to the 11-headed and 1,000-armed Avalokiteshvara. But so to speak is not just a manner of speaking. It's not just a figure of speech. We should take it very seriously, even take it literally. When a number of people achieve this non-egoistic going for refuge, this non-egoistic arising of the bodhicitta, when the stream of non-egoistic spiritual energy starts manifesting through a number of people simultaneously, those people will be literally hands or arms, even faces of Avalokiteshvara. There will be no question of any conflict between them. They will function in perfect harmony. It will be a true Sangha. It will be an Arya Sangha, and the Triratna Buddhist Order has a future only to the extent that it is such a Sangha, or to the extent that it contains such a Sangha at its nucleus. It is therefore imperative that each and every one of you should seek to transform your effective going for refuge into a real going for refuge, should seek to attain stream entry or the arising of the real bodhicitta. It is up to you. The future of the order, of the movement, is in your hands. It's good to read this as order members again and again. You know, it's just sort of like sometimes one gets a lost bit in organizing things, but this is not what it's about. You know, this is what it's really about. So I just want to end this talk with another quote of Sanghadarsini, and this is more in general about being involved in a spiritual community. If one's inner experience finds a collective expression in some kind of spiritual movement, one could think of that movement as having a dream life or a myth life of its own. Perhaps it does have an existence on another level. Indeed, if it did not, if it were merely an organization on the material plane, it would wither away very quickly. It needs to have very deep roots, roots in the sky. Thank you.